I'm Jesse Marshall, here with Wilfy Horig.
Yes, you're here with me in two forms, actually.
I'm here with you and I'm watching you.
Yes, so we're watching my the first match of my top 8. I'm playing against Rob, who's playing a generic controlling the message deck.
Generic, but for the fact that it has a surveillance sweep in his opening hand.
Oh, well, I wasn't going to spoil it, but in terms of the regular strategy, not the Canadian-style strategy.
Okay.
And I'm playing Whizzard. I talked about this matchup quite a bit in episode 99, was it?
Yep.
Yep. So maybe check that out if you want some strategic discussion. Now we're just going to talk about the game. So I drew my opening hand. I think I remember thinking that it was quite good because it had Employee Strike, which is one of the best cards to have early, if not the best card, as well as
because if you see this opening, then you can Employee Strike and kill both of those things, presumably.
Yes, at least the most important thing, and it's also, unlike Sunset Slums, it only puts you down 1 compared to 2. So I've basically what I expected to happen happened, which was that I played Employee Strike and got to kill a political, but
which is the most important one.
Yes, exactly. But this, after seeing Surveillance Sweep, that really made me less happy about what was going on since my Employee Strike died, which was kind of my lifeline for the game. So I think, what am I going to do?
Things pretty much went downhill from there pretty quickly.
Hey, don't spoil it just yet. We'll give the listeners.
I wasn't spoiling anything.
I wasn't spoiling anything either.
Okay, good. Well, no one's spoiling anything. Sorry, if you were the runner in this situation, just imagine for a moment. What would you be looking to do against 2 freshly installed cards in the remote? What's your priority?
Okay, so I think I would be trying to gain credits as much as possible, trying to stay afloat from hard-hitting news, and I would probably, because I don't think I could afford to run if it wasn't going to be extremely useful, especially without having any economy cards in hand. So I would...
Even on that turn? Do you think that you've wild-sided here for your click 1? Do you think you can run here?
Only if I had Gamble, Laundry, or Laundry in hand that I would run. Otherwise, I wouldn't.
Even though he's on 0 credits? Well, effectively 1.
Sure, but he can still gain 2 hard-hitting news, which is possibly enough depending on the situation.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've decided not to Laundry the remote because I think it's Jackson. So I'm laundering HQ and get a Jackson anyway.
Yep.
But yeah, so gain 1 from pad, gain hard-hitting news, and that could be enough given that I would have to pay Wizard credits to trash, remove the tag, and then do something else.
And because of Surveillance Sweep, you have to pay first.
Yes, exactly.
Which is miserable.
Yeah. So yeah, I've drawn up discarded Paperclip, which is a good card to have in the heap, but not super important in this situation. And yeah, I'm gaining some credits. So things are actually going okay for me, I think. My opponent has an Astro scored, which is a bit annoying. It puts me on a reasonably fast clock, just because it means that I have to set up programs ASAP before I can get closed accounts.
Yeah, so you want to try and spend some credits just in case you get breaking news closed accounts.
Yes, that's basically what I expect to happen at some point during the game.
One of the things that we spoke about when we were preparing for this matchup in our testing was that having the liberated account on the field with some counters on it or some credits on it was very useful.
Yes, I prefer, my strategy was to keep the liberated account with counters unless it was absolutely necessary to run somewhere, to take it off to run somewhere, just because if my opponent is going to breaking news me, I want them to choose whether to close accounts me or all-seeing eye me for maximum value.
So we've seen there you've trashed a Sensi, and now you've gone in on a Jackson in a remote, which has been used to shuffle 3 things back in. Yeah,
so I think the most important thing to do is to as always, to manage their remotes, make sure they don't get too out of hand. And so I've kind of tried to do that by running every remote, even if I maybe lose a bit of board development.
And why do you think it's important to control the remotes in this matchup?
Just because I think that if they, it's okay to let them have one thing fire. It's definitely not the end of the world. But the way the deck wins is by getting a political asset. You have to trash it, if they can stick a political asset for a turn, they can use that turn to deploy more threats, which put you further behind, which means that they can eventually hard-hitting use you for more value. So it's about sort of getting the turn where the runner eventually gets overwhelmed by things. And so you lose a little bit of efficiency going in and trashing everything individually because controlling the message triggers the maximum number of times, but you never have to worry, or not as commonly have to worry that there will be turns where you really can't trash things that you want to trash because you're squeezed for resources.
This is a big play from you here, going in on the adjusted chronotype and clearing off all but one counter, which is worth 4 credits on your liberated account. Is that because you've now got the chronotype in play, you feel like your resources are actually more valuable, so the balance in terms of between all seeing eye and closed accounts was tilting a bit too far one way?
Yeah, so now, but basically since I had quite a few credits, I'm happy to play chronotype, to spend some of those credits to play chronotype, especially since I assume the game's going to go in this way, which it kind of did, where Rob's going to try and play multiple assets each turn.
Yeah.
So this will allow me to stay, given that I need probably one click to clear the tag each turn, losing 1 click to the chronotype to the wild side as well is not great.
So you've cleared off a clone suffrage movement there, which is pretty good.
Yeah.
Also very important, since you just spent a whole lot of resources getting back your employee strike. Would have been pretty demoralizing to see that clone suffrage movement bring back the surveillance sweep.
Yeah, that would have been pretty awful. But yeah, so
and you survived without getting hard hitting used through that turn, which is pretty important.
Yes, although I had 12 credits, so it would have been pretty...
Oh yeah, and there's no surveillance sweep.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's true. So hoping that one of these isn't a Jackson, thinking that it's unlikely.
No, it's 2 remotes.
Oh, sorry, there's 2 things in the same server. Yeah, so one's a price ec.
Which is okay. I mean, it's a little annoying, but having 6 cards in my hand means that it's not...
Robbery rolled a 6 for some reason.
That's okay. Means that's not the end of the world. Like, it's not the worst thing in the world because I don't lose a card. Like, I was going to discard the card anyway.
So are you happy to pay 5 to get rid of the Sand here?
No, definitely not. Just because my opponent Rob already has the opportunity to fast advance breaking news with Astro, and I really want to...
But he can't breaking news and then all seeing eye and closed accounts you.
Yes, so that's...
So extra clicks are worth something.
Yeah, exactly. And that's, I think, what makes me trash it there. That I'm worried that to me seems like the most worrying thing for me that could happen. That would just put me so far behind. And while it's not super likely, like, allowing him to use some of his credits and not forcing him to use the Astro counter is pretty bad. Like, it would be bad for him to do that.
So you've cleaned off the liberated account there.
Yeah, because I think that now that I have Wildside Chronotype, even that amount of money is enough. And I want to be able to play everything that I draw next turn and still be able to run.
Okay.
So if I draw, say, a Faust, I need to be able to play it while still being able to threaten an asset if Rob were to play one.
Okay.
And now I think there might be agendas building up in hand. Maybe a GFI or something, so I've decided to run HQ.
Do you think the breaking news score last turn was something that indicated that to you?
Or
do you think that was more to get rid of the employee strike?
Yeah, it was to get rid of the employee strike. I just think that, there's been... maybe one use of Jackson early, but apart from that, not very much. And I think if he had assets in hand, he would be likely to play them. So, agendas or ice maybe are the 2 possibilities.
Okay.
And so I run HQ, run into an Enigma now. I think I just bounce and then gamble.
Okay. And it looks like there are a couple of ice in HQ there.
Yeah.
And a toll booth.
Yeah.
A couple of ice, including a toll booth and a little engine. And now hard hitting you. So that's an important draw for Rob, I think. You obviously have been playing around it anyway, but having it obviously means that if there is one turn where you get pressured enough that you get within hard hitting news range, he can now punish you for it.
And there is he still has an Astro counter, so it's going to happen at some point. And so I think I realized this, and I'm like, I should play my programs out ASAP, just so, because he's not going to be able to hard hitting use for value. His next turn he's not going to be able to hard hitting use me for value, really. But
this doesn't seem like a very bad position for the runner to be in, to be honest.
Yeah, I'm a few points behind. He has an Astro counter, but I think my board's a little better.
Yeah.
But
and you're well ahead on credits.
But the Astro counter is still a bit worrying.
Yeah. So pitching a daily cast there, which actually is interesting, because given the spread between your credits in your pool and your resources, I almost would have been tempted to play the daily cast there.
Oh, instead of the laundry. I think I wanted to get more accesses on HQ while I can, just to get sucker counters, so I have a chance of killing that Data Raven.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I think if it's not like you can spend too many things to make that happen. Like, I think it's bad to just run archives to farm soccer counters, but since I have a medium already, if I can do that without losing too much, it would be really good.
Yeah.
Since Data Raven's pretty damaging, pretty hard to deal with.
I feel like you've controlled Rob's credits really well here, but allowing him to have the 2 pads is also a lot.
Yeah, that's true. Like, I was thinking that if my employee strike could survive for a turn, I would start clearing out the pads, but I think having to take a tag and then remove it is fairly bad, given that the game's, like, pad only has a limited amount of value, and its advantage is that it's so sticky.
Yeah, I think what's interesting at this phase of the game is that you sort of have most of the tools you need. You'd really like a David, obviously, to round things out, but Rob is really, I feel like he's quite stretched in terms of threatening you, plus being able to defend his centrals well enough.
Yes, but he's kind of like, the pads are getting him ahead each turn.
Yeah.
But I feel like I can't really do anything about that while managing the most important threats.
Okay.
So that was my thought process here.
I'd like to see, obviously this may not be the ideal turn, given that there's 2 new installs, but I would like to see, now that the slums is down, those pads go relatively soon.
That's a franchise city.
Right.
If anyone who doesn't know what it does, when the runner scores an agenda, it goes into your score area. It's like a public support sort of thing.
And it's gone into his score area, but it's actually his removed from game area.
Yes, it's a little confusing. I think we realized this soon after and move it somewhere else.
And we've got rid of the Sensi. Okay. So that turn, again, worked out pretty well for you. You're not losing credits in the credit race, although you didn't get any further ahead, and again, the pads are still ticking. So
yes. Yeah, I think the fact that Rob was able to play 2... the thing is, I assume that at some point he's going to have to run out of assets, and his hand's going to fill up with agendas.
Yeah.
Because ice has a very limited marginal benefit, since you have to pay to res each one. And so now I'm thinking maybe I can get some more data sucker counters and eventually kill that data raven and then go to town and medium. I think I've realized now that trying to avoid hard-hitting news forever is not going to be the way that I'm going to win this game.
Okay.
As for how that...
Even though you've got valuable resources in play?
Yes. Well, my plan is that by the time that I get hard-hitting news, it's late enough that I'm able to potentially threaten victory with the medium.
Okay.
I think... Yeah.
One thing that so the hard-hitting news has come down, it was gain hard-hitting news. That was one of the turns where you were pushed to that point where you were just vulnerable.
Yes.
If Rob put everything into it and he decided that it was worth it.
Yeah, and I thought if he wants to spend all his credits to do that, that's okay. Also, I have a networking in my deck, which I haven't seen yet, but it's not super, at some point it's gonna appear, right? So and that just makes that situation for Rob so bad.
Yeah. Although still having the 2 pad doesn't make it all that bad.
No,
because going all in means that he can follow up with the other hard hitting news in his hand or other threats the following turn.
Yeah, but no networking net yet, so I just decided to push the tags.
Yeah.
And Rob, has a
sweeps to recover.
Yep, which is quite good for him.
Yeah.
But I'm still getting closer to things with the wildside chronotype is still gathering me advantage every turn, so I'm not too worried about the situation.
If I would really like to see sort of a I guess daily cast this turn wouldn't be amazing because you're still playing around All Seeing Eye off the Astro Fast Advance score.
Oh.
But you've gone for it. Yeah, I was going to say, I think that would put you in the best position, having something like that to drip you resources over the next few turns.
Yeah, I think so too. I feel like if he... the thing is that most of these decks only play 1, maximum 2 All Seeing Eye, so it's not the most likely thing. And given that I've actually run HQ quite a few times and not seen any, I think I've decided to do that.
Yeah. And I agree with that, because I think you can try and play around too much against these decks, and sometimes they have it. Playing as around hard-hitting users is right because they'll have 2 or 3 copies, but playing around specific tag punishment cards is probably not going to win you the game a lot.
Yeah, so now I'm just building my board. I want to go use this medium for value at some point because this time I'm feeling threatened on credit on points. Yeah, that's the issue.
And is that a private security force?
It is a private security force. Spoilers, please.
Interesting. Well, it's not a spoiler if it's on the camera.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
All right, we'll think about that for a little bit.
Yeah, send us an email if you have any thoughts on whether or not that's actually a spoiler. So the Solstice Slums hasn't done a whole lot of work.
No, it's not. I think that by the time it came down, it was kind of a minimal effectiveness just because Rob transitioned from trying to build resources to trying to win, like trying to score points. And
he hasn't really done too many install a whole lot of things in remote servers, in remote turns. He's also, I think Slums is also more useful in combination with networking.
Yes. Cool. So I ran the remote stall private security force. So now I'm assuming that I'm going to get hard-hitting used. I'm just going to gain 3 credits, I assume. Or I can't remember exactly what happened. Either that or I'm just going to avoid hard-hitting use. Like, I'm going to give up on hard-hitting use. Avoiding hard-hitting use.
Unless you draw your networking next turn?
Yes. Yeah, so I'm thinking, yeah, either I can make him spend some credits, or, like, get around...
Unfortunately make you spend some credits
so
also.
This is pretty bad. But now I'm like, okay, I have 3 points. You know, that's like...
That's fine.
Yeah.
And that's the sort of situation, sort of scenario where you don't mind starting your medium run?
Yes. But I think that he's gonna we'll see. I can't exactly remember what happens. Yeah, I think I want to make him spend at least 1 on his hard-hitting use. So I decided to gain some credits, since I think that I will need to use credits at least once more during the game. If not, like, to trash things on R&D at least. Yeah.
And you're going to get 2 more from your daily cast. So the interesting thing here is that if you do draw the networking, then you're out.
Yes.
Which is pretty good.
Yeah, we're actually in the same situation, except I'm up, I'm still drawing 2 cards each turn.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think I don't draw the networking.
This is another turn where it's sort of like, if you're going to stay tagged, I think trashing those 2 pads this turn would actually be really good. Because it still takes his resources to come over and kill yours.
Yeah, that's true.
Unless he has the all-seeing eye, but...
Yeah, like, I think I was thinking at this point, that's very possible, but I think at this point I was thinking, alright, we're going to get tagged. Yeah. I need to, there's a couple things I need to do. 1, I need to ideally use those credits to kill assets on R&D so you get to see more cards.
Okay.
2, I need to make sure that the purge isn't too damaging. I figure that I'm going to need to get through any ice that isn't Data Raven that Rob can res. And I'm most worried about him drawing a tag punishment card that's going to be really bad for me. So I'm not so worried about him having credits because of the pad. I don't think I'm going to run R&D that many more times that it's going to be super detrimental to have the pad still in play. Mm-hmm. But yeah, hitting Cyberdex, which I just did, is basically the worst thing that can happen.
Yeah. Just
because once I've already gone all in on the avoiding Data Raven plan, the fact that medium is much worse is not good.
No. That was click 2, so you've still got 2 more runs to get your medium up this turn.
Yes.
And you're hoping that that's not a toll booth, basically. Because, I feel like the worst thing that can happen for your plan is that that's a toll booth.
Yeah. But yeah, I do have 3 points, so I think winning is in possible, before. Yep. But I still need to score. I really want to score 1 agenda at least this turn or next turn, so that if he purges, I still have a chance to win. Because I think he's going to get up to the point where he can play a toll booth, can res a toll booth soon. So I don't want to get locked out by toll booth purge. Basically, I need to get at least 1 score before then, so that I have the chance to at least snipe 1 agenda and win after that happens.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's...
so this is really a key turn.
Yes.
Because if you can get 4 more runs, that's a big deal.
Yes. And Rob's,
Cyberdex is gone.
Yeah, and Rob's realized this and has just gone up to 5 points in the hope that I'll steal GFI and as the only agenda, which I think, since he has the exchange in hand, which I think is reasonable. Like, is that
There's
right?
there's still 3 Beals in the deck.
Still 3 beer. No.
3 Beals and 3 GFIs. You would
No,
think?
there's 2 GFIs. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I assume that the private security force and the 15 minutes replace the GFI
Oh,
to
of
add
course.
an influence,
Yep.
but
Yep.
I'm not certain about that.
No, that would be right.
And yeah, so I've realized, and so once he's res the turnpike, I've seen that it doesn't, like, that I can get in to R&D, so I kind of see the win in sight.
Yeah. So you've got 4, you're gonna see 6 cards basically.
At least 6
Yeah.
cards. Yeah, and I see a Jackson. I'm trying to work out whether I want to Whizzard it or whether there's something that's going to be more important to Whizzard. But since it's the first card, I'm very likely to Whizzard it.
And also, you're not going to spend your credits on anything else, presumably.
No, I guess the point is whether I need to slums it or...
Okay, so you're up to 5 points. That's
Yeah.
big. So
Yeah.
you hit a GFI,
Yep.
and you're really only 1 card deep.
Yes.
So these are all fresh cards.
Yeah. So there's 4 cards I saw on the second access.
And none of them are trashable, and none of them are agendas.
None of them are trashable, none of them are agendas. You sure are right there, Jesse. But now I've realized that once I've scored GFI, he can exchange and win, which is possible that he has, and it's more likely that he has because he scored the breaking news then. Although even not, he might score the breaking news just to get out of his hand. But I'm not sure.
Okay, so unfortunately you miss, and then you get the exchange.
Yes.
All right, so that was really close.
Yeah, it was really close. I guess, like, there were a couple things. The first thing is, if I, like, obviously I'm not going to complain or anything, but if I had drawn, I think, if I had drawn networking earlier, I would have made the decision to not go all in on tags a lot easier. And at the point that I was at, I was fairly far into my deck, so that I expected that the networking would show up at some point. So that's what made me not as reluctant. You know, the turn where he had the private security force, I'm like, it can be an agenda, but I'm still not in a super bad situation because I have networking in my deck. If he hard-hitting uses me, like, and because he has the Astro counter, him scoring an agenda would be bad because it means that he could win through 7 points, and that's what would have ended up happening, I think, if I had avoided the run that turn.
Yep.
So yeah, I think once I had taken the tags from hard-hitting use, it was reasonable to go all in on the medium, since that was kind of what I thought that was kind of my end game plan, was to do that. But it turned out to see the cards in the wrong order.
Yeah. And the fact that there were all GFIs left in the deck there was probably the best situation for Rob
Yes.
that it could have been. Like, if you'd hit some more of the 1-pointers earlier, or the Astro or Beals.
Yes, but he was very aggressive in scoring them out. That's the thing.
Which
Like,
is good.
Yeah.
And that shows you the importance, and we spoke about it in Matt and Mike's game as well,
Yeah.
of having those non-GFI agendas in the corpse core
Yeah.
area. Yeah.
And also, yeah, so like I could have taken a bit different approach during the game. I could have been more aggressive trashing the pads and trying to grind out a victory, but I kind of saw it that the hard hitting use was inevitable and I needed to win before, just because trying to play around it the whole game just means that your opponent has more chances to see the tag punishment cards, like that when it actually eventually does hit, which it's bound to, I think, that like something's bound to happen given that he already has an Astro counter and can use it to close the count to me, and once he breaking use close the count to me, he's bound to hit hard-hitting use at some point.
Yeah.
It's impossible for that not to happen. So I just wanted to make sure that I was in the best position when that happened to kind of go tag me and try and score points as fast as possible.
Yeah. And I think the 4 programs you have in play there are the ones that allow you to do that. Just unfortunately, cards didn't come out in the right order. So well played to Rob there.
Yes, he did basically what he should in that situation, because he realized that was going to happen, and instead of trying to like hold the breaking news to get something with Astro or whatever, he just scored it, and in the hope that what would happen happened.
Great. So well played to both players, and we will be back shortly with another game from the top 8 of Australian Nationals 2016. I've been Jesse Marshall for the Winning Agenda with Wilfy Horig.
Yes, thanks for listening.